like to call the City Council meeting to order, please. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that no? No.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City Council meeting. Let the record show that all members of the City Council are present, with the exception of Councilman Bilsbach. There is a copy of the Open Meetings Act posted in the meeting room and is accessible to the public at any time during the course of this meeting. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. First item is item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. Item C, receive and place on file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. Item D, approval of minutes of regular meeting on January 4th, 2016, as on file in the City Clerk's office. Item E, approval of the Treasurer's Report of Claims. E1, approval of the Beatrice Humane Society claim in the amount of $5,000. E2, approval of Gage Area Growth Engage claim in the amount of $20,722.14. E3, approval of Main Street Beatrice claim in the amount of $2,835.88. E4, approval of the balance of the Treasurer's Report of Claims in the amount of $648,974.01. Item F, approval of Boswa Report of Claims in the amount of $68,067.10. Item G, setting, Item G, setting the public hearing for the 1 and 6 year road plan to be held February 1st, 2016 at 7 p.m. Item H, resolution number 5863, executing the certificate of compliance to the Nebraska Department of Roads regarding roadway maintenance as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item I, approval of pay request number 3 to Building Crafts, Inc. for the Beatrice Water Pollution Control Raw Pumps number 4 and 5 project in the amount of $82,612 as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item J, approval of application of reconstruction to liquor license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 1744, license number B-029127. Item K, resolution number 5864, entering into a contract with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development for the Downtown Revitalization Grant awarded to the City of Beatrice, referred to as Community Development Block Grant, CDBG contract number 15-DTR-009. Item L, approval of write-off of ambulance bad debts. And item M, approval of Beatrice Plus funding request for Main Street Beatrice in the amount of $1,125 for the Downtown Bench Project as recommended by the Beatrice Plus Committee. Is there any item that any member of the City Council wants removed from the consent agenda? Rich?
K and M.
K and M as in Mary?
Yes, please.
Bob?
I'll abstain from E1.
You? Anybody from this side of the room? Anyone from the public? Mr. Catlin? I beg your pardon, Mr. Claybaugh? You got to.
I'd like to abstain from E3 and M.
And N as in Nora?
M as in Mary.
M as in Mary? Thank you.
Are you through throwing things?
Mr. Catlin?
Mayor, I move that all the items listed under the consent agenda, with the exceptions of item K and M, be approved, accepted, and or ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Kerr, that all items under the consent agenda be approved with the exception of items K and M. Your vote, please. That is approved 7-0.
Ready, Mayor?
Yes, sir?
Mayor, I move that the resolution number K 5864 number entering into a contract with NDED for the Downtown Revitalization Grant awarded to the City of Beatrice, referred to as Community Development Block Grant CDBG contract number 15-DTR-009 be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Morgan. Referencing the Nebraska Department of Economic Development grant. Discussion.
I didn't have any trouble with this. I just didn't see any monetary figures on there. How much money are we getting? What do we have to match? Are those figures available to us yet, or?
This is a grant that we applied for some time ago, and we've been awarded. We've been waiting for the contract to come down. Greg, do you recall, is it $30,000
30.
that we have to match at least 30?
I thought it was 35.
35?
That was 30, and then we matched approximately 33% or third.
Somewhere in there. I
25%.
think the last one we did is when we had RDG come down and do it. And if I remember right, it ended up being pretty close to that 50-50 range is what we paid.
So, okay. Yeah, I just didn't see any numbers on it.
It's just for the study itself.
You're right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments from any of the council members? Anybody from the public? All right, your vote, please. That is approved, 7, sorry.
Mayor, I move that item M, approval of Beatrice Plus funding request from Main Street Beatrice in the amount of $1,125 for the downtown bench project as recommended by the Beatrice Plus Committee be approved, accepted, and ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Kerr, that the downtown bench project be approved. Discussion.
Again, I don't have a problem with this. They requested $563, and are we paying them $563 on this, or are we giving them the entire $1,125?
We're going to give them the entire $1,125. At this meeting, Main Street had made 2 requests, one for the downtown benches and one for the downtown planters. The Beatrice Plus group, Ted, correct me if I'm wrong here, but had the feeling that they didn't like to do maintenance items, and so that's why they didn't want to do annual operations. Hence, they've made the motion that you see on page 49 in your packet not to fund the flowers, but to fund the benches at 100%. Total dollars for Main Street ended up being out, I think, a couple $100 was the difference. $400 was the difference between funding each of them half or one of them 100%. So
Didn't we fund flowers last,
they did last year.
didn't we last week or last?
Speak to why we did that.
Just for the record, Michael.
Yep. The reason why
The record,
Main Street
uh,
Beatrice has applied both
Your
on
name.
the 25, I'm
Your
sorry.
name.
Yep, Michael Sothen, Main Street Beatrice.
Attaboy.
My apologies, jumping right into this.
First time?
But the reason why both of us we applied for both of those different funds is in the past, we've had the issue of, we thought that maybe we'd get something from Beatrice Plus, so we did not apply for anything else. And then come to find out there either wasn't the funds there or there just wasn't the interest in doing that project. And so then we weren't able to do a project within that part of the year or at all that year because we weren't able to get that approval. And so we've done where we've kind of applied to both, just that way we can make sure that we can try to get these projects done in one way or the other. Because a lot of times we don't have the entire budget to be able to do the entire project. If we can get at least 25%, there's a lot of times that we're at least able to still pursue the project. And so we applied for both the 25%, that $500 and some dollars, and to Beatrice Plus, hoping that we would get one or the other. Now, since we've got both, we will probably send a letter to Tobias here after a board meeting tomorrow saying that they can release those funds from that 25% to go back to that we won't be seeking those dollars.
For the plannings that we,
For that, the bench project that you had approved at our last city council meeting, if that makes sense.
it's about as clear as mud, but.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's,
The project's going to be 100% funded out of Beatrice Plus rather than 50% out of Beatrice Plus and 25% out of the funding policy.
Okay.
And so we've already made a note internally not to pay them 125%, So,
In a perfect example of why we did that is, Beatrice Plus decided not to help us out with the planters, but at least we have some assistance from the city council from last time we had that meeting, so at least we can proceed with that project. So that was part of why we tried doing those two-part applications.
That's gonna take care of all the benches.
Yep. Actually, they, right after that meeting, Mark's crew had a little bit of extra time. He had some extra folks in to help out with Mudecas, some younger guys, and they were able to help us grab all the benches and get them out there to the Setzers. And Setzer says, hey, I've got time to do this. You guys are all right with that. So we talked it over with our board, and since we had talked with the committee, they went ahead and powder coated it because they had the time out there at Setzer's Manufacturing. So they were just put back. They look pretty pretty.
So since we filled his downtime, is he giving us a discount on the powder coating?
Compared
Probably
to
not.
compared to having to send these off to the manufacturer in Kansas City, we saved a lot of money.
I'm sure.
Any other questions, Michael?
I'm probably gonna get a call.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Anyone from the public?
Thank you, Michael.
All right, your vote, please, gentlemen. That is approved 7-0.
you're abstaining on this one, correct?
Yes.
That's what you stated earlier.
Yes.
With Claybaugh abstaining.
No problem.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the application of PLI SI LLC, doing business as Florio's Italian Grill, for a Class 1 liquor license. Chief Lang, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do. Standard liquor license application was done as a change of ownership, same location. And business has been there previously, and there's nothing unusual in the application that would make us want to not approve this.
And the location, Mr. Morrow, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Yeah, he's never testified before, so we had to walk him through this.
Former policeman, never testified before.
Rob Merrill.
Mike's done it a lot, and he screwed it up, so.
Rob Merrill, building inspector. I did the planning report for new ownership on this liquor license. Basically, it is existing zoning is general commercial. Existing land use and zoning in all directions is general commercial. Land use is general retail, office, personal service, financial service, and some restaurants. Same as the others, no foreseeable negative effects on this. It's just being done for formality on that new ownership.
Okay, any questions from Chief Lang or from Mr. Morrow? Thank you, gentlemen. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed at 7:12 p.m.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Cook, that the public hearing be closed at, what did you say, 7:12 p.m.? Your vote, please. That is approved 7-0. I'll entertain a motion to grant the application.
Mayor, I move that the application of PLISI LLC, doing business as Florio's Italian Grill, 2205 North 6th Street, Suite 18, Beatrice, Nebraska, for a Class 1 liquor license, be recommended to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission for approval.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Claybaugh, that the liquor license for Florio's be approved. Any further discussion? Anyone from the public? And your vote, please. That is approved 7-0. Next item on the agenda is a resolution number 5865, entering into an agreement for professional services with Hannah Keelan Associates, P.C. to conduct a blight substandard determination study and conduct a general development plan.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5865 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Morgan, that resolution number 5865 be passed and adopted. Discussion.
We are looking at a couple of areas to perform. It's a blight and substandard study, otherwise known as a redevelopment area. These are this first study that you need to have done in order to do TIF financing. And so this is the first step. And what we've done is Hannah Keelan's done all of ours in the past. So we contacted them again about doing one. The areas that we're looking at are up around the hospital, the Northgate area, to have TIF financing be available in that area. And you'll also remember we had a development that was in with New Nebraska who was looking at somewhere around the 13th and Dorsey area. That might be another area that we include in this study. When I talked to Tim Keeland, the exact scope of the area was still to be defined. Him and I have some more conversations to have exactly what that's going to look like. Much of the area may be outside the city limits, just kind of depends on how things get put together here. But what you see before you is a contract for them to come down, do a blight and substandard study in one or both of those areas for $15,000. They projected to take about 60 days for them to do the study.
Rich?
Years ago, when we first started this TIF funding, there was a percentage of how much land area you could put in. Is that still there?
Yes, it's still there.
And we were well below that percentage, if I remember correctly.
Right. We've gotten a little closer, but you have to remember recently with the annexation of BSDC and of the school's property on the east side of town, you added a large number of acres that were not in a redevelopment area.
Yeah.
So that helped change that percentage again. So, but it is something we have to keep an eye on as we do these.
Any other questions from anyone? From the public? All right, gentlemen, your vote, please. And that is approved 7-0. Resolution number 5865 has been approved. Next item is resolution number 5866, executing a loan sale agreement for the sale and purchase of all of the city's remaining secured interests of Storecraft Loans to Alexander Plastics, Inc., a Texas corporation doing business as Creations Global Retail.
Mayor, I move resolution number 5866 be passed and adopted.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Hardy, that resolution number 5866 be passed and adopted. Discussion.
As all of you are aware, the city has made a number of loans to Storecraft over the years. And many of those loans, our main security interest was in the real estate or in other financial statements that were filed, EFS financing options that were filed against their inventory and things like that. On the real estate, we had a second position. The bank came in, as you're well aware, sold, has ownership of the ground. With regards to all the other items and assets, they took those as well. We did have a first security interest in some patents that may or may not be out there. And we were approached by this company, Alexander Plastics, Inc. They would like to acquire our interest in those security interests. And so what you have before you is an agreement in which we basically assign all of the right title interest that we have in those assets over to this company. In return, they're going to pay us $7,500. They then will pursue what, if any, interest might be out there.
Questions? Yes, sir.
So we own the patents.
I'm not saying we own the patents. I'm saying we had a security interest that we filed on some of the patents. What patents, we're not entirely sure even, or how old they are, or how good they are. Those are things we don't know for sure. This company's willing to take the risk and go find out.
Have we had anything from anyone else? I know there's two big deals in Canada, or businesses in Canada, 2 or 3 here in the United States that were in direct competition with Storecraft a few years ago, and they may be interested in these patents also. They may give us a little bit more money.
Nobody else has contacted us ever about wanting to acquire any interest that we may or may not have in any of this asset or any other asset. We have never been contacted by anybody else looking to get these items assigned over to them.
I think $7,500 is pretty cheap on that, but go ahead.
Were you suggesting we ought to check with them first then, or before?
I'm not sure that those companies would want these things or not, but I do know the background on this, and I know who Creations Global Retail is, and I know the problems that they had prior to this, and why. So I'm just going to vote no on this. You guys do what you want.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone from the public? All right, gentlemen, your vote, please. And that is passed 6-1 with Councilman Kerr voting no. Resolution number 5866 has been passed and adopted. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 5867, declaring the official intent of the city of Beatrice, Nebraska to reimburse itself for expenditures made in connection with the acquisition of certain public safety equipment for the city.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5867 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, second by Morgan, that resolution number 5867 be passed and adopted. Discussion, Mr. Templemeyer?
This item is often referred to as a reimbursement resolution. We did one a couple of months ago. When we put together the budget, we planned on issuing some public safety debt. Our plan still is to issue some public safety debt. However, part of those funds are not ready to be expended yet, i.e. the purchase of a new ambulance. So rather than waiting and holding up all of the items that we need to purchase with that public safety debt until we're ready to issue it, this allows us to spend the money to purchase some of the items and reimburse the city if and when we decide to issue public safety debt in the future. We're looking at probably sometime in late spring, early summer of issuing that debt. The one you see before you is for the police cars that were set in the budget. And so this reimbursement resolution would allow Bruce to move forward, purchase those vehicles, and then we would reimburse ourselves with the bond proceeds, again, when we issue those bonds. Linda feels confident we have sufficient funds in the bank to go ahead and proceed with this reimbursement resolution.
Questions? Anyone? Everybody understand it? Okay, anybody from the public? All right, and your vote, please. That is approved 7-0. Resolution number 5867 has been approved. Next item is resolution number 5868, approving payout to non-union employees for their unused sick bank hours as of October 1st, 2015.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5868 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Kerr, that resolution number 5868 be passed and adopted. Mr. Templemeyer?
With the signing of the union contracts here, the last meeting, we have essentially taken care of all of the unused sick banks that were created in 2008 when we reduced the number of sick leave hours that employees could carry over for all union employees. The only ones that were left were non-union employees, and what you have in this resolution is to essentially treat those non-union employees the same as we did the union employees. And so you see that we have a list of individuals who have sick leave banks, those in which would be IBEW, FOP, those types would get 50 cents on the dollar. The firefighters, they would get 25 cents on the dollar, similar to what their unions employees got for payouts.
What's that gonna cost us?
Mr. Party?
Your numbers on the side over here, is this the total number of hours they have, or is this the half showing right here?
Total number of hours they have.
Everything I heard would be half then.
Correct.
Anybody else? Anyone from the public? Your vote, please. And that is approved 7-0. Resolution number 5868 has been passed and adopted. There are no ordinance for tonight's meeting. The next item is item 6, the public forum. The purpose of the public forum is for the presentation of an item by the general public to the City Council for consideration at a later date. No discussion or action will be taken by the City Council at this time. Is there any member of the City Council that has anything for the public forum? Anyone from the public? All right, we'll move on to item 7, discussion and reports. And the first is the quarterly report from Engage. Glynis?
Good evening. I'm Glynis McClure, Engage Executive Director. I'm here with a fourth quarter and sort of year-end report for you. You should have had two files provided to you. One would be more of a narrative that goes through our objectives that we had for 2015 and with some notes alongside showing you activity relating to those. And then there should have been a what we call a metrics report or evaluation measures, year-end summary that has quite a few numbers on it. So I guess I'm just going to sort of highlight a few things since this is also quarter 4, 2015, and you've got some notes there on year-end. I'm here to answer your questions, but just kind of run through some highlights, I guess. So the main quarter 4 activities centered around business retention expansion visits. This is something that we've, worked on all year. Ended up that we recorded 50 full business visits, and in the fourth quarter we had 17, and then 34 other business visits, as best I can count. Try to keep track on a daily basis of our interactions and so on, and so that's the number I have. I wanted to mention to you what is a business retention expansion visit. Generally, what we focus on there is a lot of times we talk about what their labor situation is, what their employment, how many they have employed. Are they finding workers and doing okay with that? Also, city services, if they're in the city of Beatrice, police, fire, utilities is all good there, and really, usually very, very positive comments on all of that. Internet connection, looking at how we, if this community needs to, do more with that, and if they're doing okay with that. Sometimes they have, some concerns and issues with that, and so those things are noted. And then just any other issues. That's really what we focus on when we do our BRE, or business retention expansion visits. And then I guess also asking them if they have plans to expand, and making sure that hopefully that their attitude, things are going well for them here, and we don't see concerns about them closing, moving, any of those kinds of things. So I made note that just in the quarter 4 alone, and we do keep track of the inventory of buildings and sites, and we had just in that quarter at least 12 inquiries on buildings and sites that we noted. During the fourth quarter, we celebrated Manufacturing Day with 3 companies in the community doing open houses. That was on October 2nd. Neabco, World Lawn, and Precise Fabrication participated. We had Raglan Automation out of Pickrell participate with Neabco, and Industrial Made out of Cortland participated with Precise Fab that day. They had folks come in and tour the facilities, and also some school groups participated in that, so that these companies could show what kinds of jobs, really what they were about. And they were very willing to have more people understand what they do here in Beatrice. So, and we'd like to expand upon that, I think, as we go further into this next year. As you know, we embarked on our housing study, our Gage County housing study, and we worked diligently and hard in this last quarter to get surveys returned. We had over 500 surveys. We had 300 and some with the general citizen survey, and over 200 from the workforce survey come back. And Hannah Keeling is taking the lead on that study for us, and they're still in the process. And just a week or so ago, we had some community forums where folks were invited to come and provide more input. And we've got a general housing study committee that's been actively participating with that in that process. We also had, in quarter 4, we had a couple of small business trainings, one on business canvas or business planning, and then one on business financials. And we've had 7 small businesses participating. And I would say at least half or more of those are probably looking very seriously at doing something in a small business, starting a small business or growing their business. I want to mention that we are a member of the Lincoln Area Development Partnership. And this, it was a joint effort to actually launch a website for that group, so that we not only, we're a part of that, but that helps to sort of market our whole region. And so we've got that. We worked on that and got that done in quarter 4. And I want to mention also that we have, it was roughly the August timeframe where we launched our member investor campaign, and we have now 26, as of the end of the year, we had 26 member investors for a total of $16,000 gathered in. So, all right, any questions on any of that so far? Right. I mean, and I hope that you find the evaluation measures, the 2-page handout helpful. There's a lot of numbers on there, and I always have to look back at, when we talk about, it's kind of interesting, for the year, there were 16, at least that we could count, 16 new businesses that were created in the county. And we worked with, I think the question was asked, how many of those did we directly work with? And we counted that we had 6 that we worked with out of that 16. So, and then you can see the jobs that we associate with those new businesses. And yes, there were a few that closed. There were 4 that closed, and there were some jobs that were affected. But generally speaking, right away, most of those jobs, like a good example, Sam and Louie's closed, but then we had a new company come in to replace that. We had a pharmacy closed, but I understand some of those workers were hired on right away by some of the other pharmacists in the community. So I think it might be helpful. I guess it was interesting too, looking for the year on the second page there, assessed value growth rate. So Patty Milligan, assessor, provided information to us on residential growth rate, commercial and ag, and there is a bold line right after that as I looked at those figures, I thought, really what was actual investments? Can we tell what was actual investments made in the county? And you can see that, the numbers that they gathered showed that investments were up $12,286,957. So that's not assessed increase, but that would be actual investments made in the county. Sorry, it was up for 2015. So you can see $35,866,990 was the investments for 2015, and compared to last year, the difference was the $12 million figure. Okay, so I thought that was sort of helpful when we dug into that a little bit too. So I'm always interested in your input, in your questions and your comments. And as we look ahead for 2016, I've been sort of evaluating plans, and I know our board will probably have some discussion on that this week when we meet. So,
Gentlemen, any questions?
I did bring along for you this evening our annual meeting invitation, which is February 11th. So I'm going to go ahead and hand those around. Okay. And so you're all invited to that, where it's going to be brief, but we have annual meeting business, and we do have a speaker coming in. So we're really just asking for an hour of your time if you have that available on February 11th. Okay? So.
Thank you, Glennis.
Thank you.
It's a Thursday.
Maybe that's not good. I'll just hand these two. You can pass those around. I think they're in order as you go around the table.
Oh, that a girl.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the legislative update.
Yes, as we've talked in the past, when the legislature's back in session, we figured we'd give you an update of some bills that we're kind of watching and keeping an eye out there. One of them is LB 703. LB 703 talks about changing the requirements for some nuisance properties, and I know Mr. Butcher's going to go up and testify on that legislative bill here tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so it's one that the league has thrown in there. We found a few issues with some of the notice requirements, and so we worked to get those corrected and get those modified, and so we'll be up there and testify on that one. A couple others that I saw that are out there we might be some interest. There were a few that talked about LB 840 plans and how to amend them and what you can amend them for. Most of them state that if you're going to amend it, it has to be something that's in state statute. If you want to do more than that, you have to go back to the vote of the people. One of them did say that you could add in using LB 840 funds for construction and rehab of work, and it's part of a workforce housing plan. And so I know we're working on our housing study now. Whether or not that would qualify as a workforce housing plan, we'd have to kind of look. But again, just an option that's out there.
Explain to me what a workforce housing plan is.
Workforce housing plan would obviously be some type of plan where you're looking to renovate or build houses for income levels that are generally at or below the median. Mm-hmm. Probably the easiest way to explain it. Mm-hmm. And so whether or not that comes out of our housing study, if that would qualify, that's what I don't know for sure, or whether you'd have to take the next step and do a plan of some sort. But Other than that, I said there's just a few of them out there this year. It's a short session. It's a holdover. Quite a few bills that are held over from last year, in addition to there being a budget shortfall that they're looking at. If there's anything out there that you're aware of or that you have the question on, please let me know. And then certainly if there's something that you want to see the city take a formal stance on, we can do that as well. The only one this year so far that I know that we'd probably oppose is LB 693. That would lengthen the amount of time, statute of limitations for political subdivision tort claim acts. It would go from 1 year to 2. Obviously, anything that lengthens the amount of time that somebody can sue us, we'd be opposed to. We want it shorter since we're on this side of the aisle on that one. So,
Let me go back to number 703. Change the notice requirements for nuisances. Is it going to be more strict than what we have or relaxed?
I'll let Mr. Butcher speak about it.
I can take this over. This one is actually originally came out of a adverse decision that the city of Beatrice got in a district court case where we had a gentleman, it was on a basic nuisance or trash weed abatement. The way that the state statute read, if all they needed to do was appeal it, and if they undertook the act of the appeal, whether the appeal was successful or not successful, the judge ruled, well, that's what the state statute says. And it says if it appeals, you can't do anything about it. And so we had this decision come out of a district court opinion, and we informed the league of it, and they noted the problem in the way that the statute was read. They clarified the weed abatement, litter control one. Well, as I was perusing through other state statutes later on in the year, I went, well, there's one in regards to nuisance trees and trees overhanging into sidewalks and things like that. Same exact language. We said you might want to clean that one up too, and that's what this bill will do.
Any other comments, questions from the public? All right. Let's move on to your monthly report. Tobias?
On the monthly report, again, if you have any questions, please let me know. But a few of the highlights, skate park, the replacement parts have been ordered. You'll see, and Mr. Peathott has noted that the American Ramp Company was the vendor. They have been ordered. They're estimating 6 to 8 weeks until delivery. That's going to put us right around March sometime before they're here. They'll be installed and hopefully be up and operational before the spring when it starts to get warm again and kids want to go back and use that facility. Mr. Burrows and his noted the Standing Bear Trail. This would be the trail. I think this first part is the part that will go essentially from Dempster's southeast out to ultimately to the Kansas border. We own about 2 miles outside of town. I think you're looking at having it out for bid yet this month. Much of the rock portion of it can be done here relatively soon because it doesn't require a lot of temperatures. The paving portion, which will go from the recycling center back to Dempster's, would obviously have to wait till it warms up because you're pouring concrete. And then the next portion of the trail, which the city is looking to fund, would be from Dempster's to Trailhead Park. We're looking to have that out for bid yet this spring, and so it's constructed as well during the summer and fall and finish that portion up. What we're looking at doing is Standing Bear Trail would start at Trailhead Park and would run southeast out all the way down to the Kansas border. Trailhead Park north then would be the Homestead Trail. And so when you're looking at signage and where it starts and what's the 0 point and those kind of things, that's kind of the point we're looking at starting the markers from. And so as we move forward with that one, down at the lift station or at the wastewater treatment facility, the new pumps have been installed. These are the pumps that were part of that overall capital improvement plan. They've been installed. They received their training tomorrow on those. And so those hopefully they'll be operational. We're hoping that the plant then runs more efficiently since we won't have the surges through the plant like the old pumps have caused us to have. And let's see. I just want to know in the street department, they have been out filling up some potholes. If you'll notice, Jason says they use 4,300 pounds of patching material. It's quite a bit of, I mean, it seems like a lot. I don't know how much goes into each hole, but to me that seems like a big number, 4,300 pounds of patching material for each one of those little potholes you see out there. So this guy's been busy out there doing those. And the last thing I want to note again is social media. The city's been a lot more diligent on our social media, trying to get information out, both through Facebook and Twitter. So if you don't, if you want to, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Erin did a great job this weekend. I mean, she had up-to-the-minute information about snow removal, which a lot of people were following. So we did trying to keep that information out there and get it flowing. So,
Rich, you've been tweeting?
No, Rich doesn't tweet back at all, so.
I don't even know what tweet is. Don't look at me, kids. I have one. I just don't know how to use it.
Not anymore.
Just broke it. All right.
You're back there going, geez, what an old.
Any questions of Tobias regarding his report?
Tobias, the trail, both sections that we're talking about, south, you're expecting that to be completed in the calendar year 2016?
I'm expecting to be complete in the calendar year of 2016. I don't know if my engineer is expecting to be complete in the calendar year of 2016, but I am expecting it.
Yeah?
All right.
Hold on, Rich has got it.
Rich?
I've had some questions about when are they gonna start Second Street? It's this spring, isn't it?
We're,
Summer?
this summer's most likely, we're having some issues between the railroad since they formerly own the property, and we're trying to, they need some letter from them that they're okay with the improvements, and they don't understand why they're kind of getting drug into it. But NDOR will ultimately have the bid letting, and I think they're looking for bid letting in summer with fall construction.
Okay.
Rick?
Back to the trails again. How is Kansas doing on their portion? Are they ahead of us, behind us, or?
I don't know on Kansas portion. I know that the Trails Foundation, I believe, has theirs done up to where it meets ours. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that contractor's been installing that rock and leveling. I don't know if it's complete, but I know they're in the process of doing it. But I think they're primarily done. I know the bridge rails and stuff are done, because I know the contractor was doing that.
I believe Kansas is ahead of where we are.
They're ahead of us?
I would like to note, though, that Kansas is also doing a little bit different construction. They're just taking trucks, dumping rock, and then having the blade go down and knock the pile down. I will hope that you'll be able to tell a significant difference between our trail when it's built and that trail.
There's, yeah, we have on the one, at least the limestone trail going north, we have basically a weed mat for, better sense of that. And we're using three different, and the one north, we use three different pieces of, three different types of grade material for compaction and water flow. And like he said, they're not doing it south. They're dumping it, leveling it off. Ours will ultimately last longer, but they're going to be finished. Essentially, when they're done, they're going to look the same to start with.
Yeah, and you
For a while.
can't control the quantities you're using either. I mean, we're going to use the process of an actual laydown machine that can pack Niagara and control the width, the depth a lot more efficiently than you can just take trucks and dump it and then lay it out smooth. You could be using a lot more rock than that is actually necessary, which in turn means more cost to us.
And it won't go like this.
Kansas win, Nebraska win.
Any other questions of the report that Tobias presented? All right, the last item on the agenda before we go into executive session is a report on the Socrata presentation.
That'll work. We'll call it Scarata. I'll go with you. This is a piece of software that we showed you before. This is one of those things we're working on to be more transparent, to have our financials out there, and hopefully be a little easier for people to walk through and follow. Aaron and Linda have been inputting information, and I know Aaron has a telephone conference with them on Wednesday to get the latest bit of information out there so they can get it uploaded and get it onto our website. But just kind of wanted to, I know before we showed you just other people's information, we want to show you how ours kind of flowed in here. Again, you have the revenues that you can come in and look at. And I'm trying to do this from over here. When all the information is updated, you'll be able to come in and look and see in the general fund how much you were budgeted for, which is the lighter line, how much you actually received, which is the darker line. And then people could come in and continue to drill that down to see exactly where the general fund dollars come from. And when I say people, I mean the public will be able to have this, you'll be able to have this, everybody will have this information, and you can continue to drill down to see where all the dollars come from and how ultimately how they're being used. And then if I come back,
When do you go live on this, or are you?
we are hoping to do it Wednesday. We just want to update the last bit of information and then have it and put it back on the website. So that's the only thing we're waiting for. They were closed today. Otherwise, we were hoping to have it done already. Go on the expense side of it. Same thing. You'll be able to come in. You'll see information as far as where the expenditures are at. And if I can try to find some of these. First one is capital outlays. again, you'll be able to kind of scroll down and see where the different kinds of capital outlays are. Again, you can compare what the budget is versus the actual. Hopefully, and if you, there's different ways you can look at it. If you like it a table, if you like it in a graph, different ways that you can pull the information back out. But again, just to make the information hopefully easier to understand and follow for those who don't deal with a city budget every day. And then the final one that's on here is capital expenditures. And so first off, you have a map over here, and the size of the circle kind of talks about the cost of it. Obviously, you can start to zoom in on the map to a particular area. So if you're driving home some night and you see some cones out and you want to know what's going on, you can come here and look. If you want, you can always call me too or text me. But you can look here, and if that doesn't work, you can go into the actual capital plan. It'll have our 5 years. Again, when we did our budget, the guys plan out for 5 years of capital projects, so all 5 of them on here. You can go in. Street department is one here. So if you want to get in and start seeing what they're doing for individual projects, and you can get down to the individual project and see where they're at in that project. Are they in the planning phase? Is it out for bids? Is it actually under construction? Then you continue to go through here and you can see where the dollars are coming from. Is this general fund revenue? Is this coming from a grant? So this one gives you a brief synopsis of what is going on. These talks about different years, what type of construction is being done in each one of those years. Gives you a map. Obviously, a map for streets are difficult because they're all over town, and so the map's a little more difficult. But again, just make the information available. I encourage everybody to go out and use it. Once it's up, we'll certainly let you know by social media. And obviously, with the radio and newspaper, we'll let them know as well that's out there. But it'll give you an opportunity to go and explore, see what your budget and what your tax dollars are going to. Questions?
Is this going to be on
Rick?
the website?
Yes.
Rick?
How's the input? Has it been easy to input?
I'm going to get a brief training on how to upload it. Right now, we've just sent it to them, and they've uploaded it for us.
Sorry, I'm looking at her.
You should look at her when it comes to inputting it. I know, I believe Linda's been able to export it out of Cassell, which is our accounting software, send them the file, and they've been uploading it. Erin's going to learn tomorrow or Wednesday how to do that on her own. I know on the capital budget side, it was a little more labor intensive to start with because none of the data was in there, and Erin had to go through and type all this stuff in to get that stuff inputted the first time. But transferring numbers over should be easier. Just getting the information the first time is a little difficult. But
I hope people use it.
I hope so. I hope people have an opportunity to go through it, and if you obviously as you're looking through, if you have questions, I encourage people to contact us. Send us an email, call us.
Tremendous amount of information, and it's pretty accessible and easy to navigate through just from your presentation. So,
Does this
Yes,
have
sir.
a counting system to tell me if there is individually on this, or how far down you can break it to?
That would come from our website, and our IT staff can tell us that information.
Kind of nice to know 2 years from now how much it is.
Right, and it is something we watch to see what gets hits, what doesn't get hits. I've yet to figure out what people look at and what they don't look at on our website. It's sometimes surprising, but it is something the IT guys can tell us what they're looking at.
any other questions? All right. Thank you, Tobias. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be a work session on January 25th. That's a week from today. And then our city council meeting will be 2 weeks from today on February 1st. All right, Mr. Catlin, I suggest, or I would like to go into executive session, please.
Mayor, I move that the Beatrice City Council go into closed session at 7:48 p.m. for the protection of public interest to discuss contract negotiations.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Cook, that we go into executive session at 7:48 p.m. Your vote, please. And that is approved 7-0.